The Locked On Podcast Network presents the College Sports Big 3 in 30. The three biggest stories in college sports. From our local experts at the Locked On Podcast Network. We bring you the real story, why it matters, what's next, who wins the big game, and more, all in 30 minutes. The College Sports Big 3 in 30 starts now with the biggest story in college sports.
The Florida Gators have once again added to their 2026 recruiting class.
You are Locked On Gators, your daily podcast on the Florida Gators.
The Florida Gators added to their 2026 recruiting class once again with safety Kaiden Hall. He is a 4-star everywhere except for 24/7, where he is a 3-star. And we did go live after his commitment yesterday evening. I was going to say last night, but evening. And he is a 4-star with on-3. He's 151st player nationally, 15th safety, 22nd player in the state of Florida. He is a 3-star on 24/7, where he is unranked nationally, is 42nd safety overall, 68th player in the state of Florida. On ESPN, he is a 4-star, 183rd player nationally, 13th safety, 29th player in the state of Florida. And the highest ranked place for him is with Rivals. He is the 125th ranked player, 6th ranked safety, and the 17th ranked player in the state of Florida, 6'3"-ish, 200 pounds. He's depending on where you look, he's a 6'2" or 6'3", 200 pounds roughly, give or take, 5 or 10. And I mean, he's just a baller, right? We'll do the scouting report similar to how we did for yesterday's episode of Locked On Gators. If you didn't see it, we did three segments scouting report, one on each commit in the 2026 class, and obviously now Kaiden Hall is the 4th commit in the class. But Florida has really picked up traction in recent weeks and months. We've been talking about this, where he's been picking up traction, or they've been picking up traction with him. He had a commitment date set for July 1st. He moved that commitment date to, guess what? Yesterday, because he committed yesterday for the Florida Gators. I will say I'm very intrigued to know what's going on with the visits, because I know that, he said, and we didn't know this yesterday when he committed, but he chose Florida. He committed to Florida over Florida State, Alabama, and Oklahoma. And those are the 3 schools that he had previously scheduled visits with. And so he committed to Florida yesterday. He was on campus this past weekend for an official visit. And when he committed, he said he's shutting it down. And I always get weary of that, because here's the thing. Also, we've talked about this specific topic in recent days, even with players who they commit and then say they're shutting it down. Because, one, Florida had 2 players in the 2026 class alone in Jalen Waters and Isaiah Williams, who both said that they were shutting it down. Both said they were 100% committed to the Florida Gators, and then they decommitted. And so we've seen that happen already with this 2026 class for the Florida Gators, and we saw it happen with 2024 and 2025. But I'm always curious about those commitments, because when you cancel the visit, and again, this is what we talked about with Janari Carr, of you can cancel a visit, but I feel like for some players, you might have that, oh, did I make the right decision? Guess or doubt if you cancel your visits and you don't go on anymore. Whereas I know for fans and coaches, of course, we'd prefer that you would, hey, I'm committing, I'm shutting it down. But I just think of from the player perspective, for, if you stick with those visits and you're still like, all right, well, Florida's still the place to go, then you have that definitively. Your place to go. You know where you want to be. You know where home is for you. And so you can have that. I do think Kaiden Hall made the right decision, by the way. I think he chose a very great program that is heading up, trending up, let's say. But he is reportedly canceling those visits. We'll see what happens later down the line. And that's not to say that I have any doubt in Kaiden Hall's decision or anything. It's just, this is recruiting in 2025. It's, I'm gonna cancel my visits, and then, you lose a game or two, and then all of a sudden visits pop up. And so we'll see where this goes. I also think that Kaiden Hall, I think he's going to see a bit of a climb in the rankings. I think that 24/7 is set to update theirs in, I want to say July is when their next ranking update's coming in. So should see a jump in there. And if you don't see a jump, they're just not doing their due diligence. Because I don't know, you watch the film and he's a damn good safety. He's someone that, has said, they're telling me I'm more of a free safety type of player, which I explained this yesterday on the live show when Kaiden Hall committed, that really free, strong, very outdated. It's field, it's boundary. And for Florida, they ran a lot of too high looks. So both safeties are doing a lot of the same things. It's just depending on what the call is, but there could be any given play where it's Jordan Castell and Bryce Thornton, and they could both be set as a deep safety. One play, Bryce Thornton could play single high over the top, and Jordan Castell can come down into the box. And on the next play, they can flip, and Jordan Castell could be the deep safety, and Bryce Thornton can come down into the box. So I don't think that it really matters what he's being told he's going to play as far as, you're going to play this safety spot or not. I think that his skill set leaves him very capable of playing both safety spots, again, because they're pretty interchangeable. And I think he's capable of playing that star spot as well. But I don't think that's where they're going to play him. So I will say that it's just one of those things where I think he could do it. I just don't know if they're going to ask him to do it. And also with Kaiden Hall's commitment, Florida has the chance to have back-to-back years with tremendous safety classes, right? For 2025, as in the 2025 class, you had Hilton Stubbs, Laganza Hayward coming in, and that's just stud safety group right there, right? Stud safety duo there. Then now you got Kaiden Hall. You are still heavily recruiting Braylon Womack, who I still think is trending Ohio State, but anything could change at the blink of a hat, drop of a hat, blink of an eye. I just combined them both there. But for Florida, you are moving with Vinny Sunseri as your safeties coach. And that was a hire that at the time that the hire was made was, we'll say, controversial in the Florida Gators fan base. But once Vinny Sunseri got hired, it was, hey, Florida's now in it for Braylon Womack, highly ranked safety, elite safety recruit. And Kaiden Hall is another player that Florida, when they hired Vinny Sunseri, it was like, hey, Florida's in it now more than they were previously because he's got a relationship. So it's not like you're completely rebuilding anything. In fact, for Kaiden Hall, it was, hey, I already have a relationship with Vinny Sunseri, and now he's coming to Florida. And that's huge for Florida to continue building out this safety class, continue building out this 2026 class in general, because I do think that there's a ton of upside for this class, and I do think that we're going to see quite a few names coming in there over the next few weeks. And like I said yesterday on the live show, I'd be willing to bet that Kaiden Hall is not the final commit of the week for the Florida Gators 2026 class.
The NBA Finals are here, and FanDuel is giving new customers an incredible way to get in on the action right now. When you join FanDuel and place your first $5 bet, you'll get $250 in bonus bets if that first bet wins. I love how FanDuel makes betting easy. Whether it's picking your favorite team or diving into player props, from three-pointers to steals to assists, there's so many ways to bet your favorite player props. Plus, after the game tips off, you can even combine live prop bets into a same-game parlay for a chance to win big. Place that first $5 bet on the Cowboys, for example, who we'll talk about later. Dallas plus 340 to go under 5.5 wins this season. If you're not bullish on the bounce back from Dak, I like those odds. Don't miss out. Head to FanDuel.com and claim your $250 in bonus bets today.
You are Locked On Buffs, your daily podcast on the Colorado Buffaloes.
Deion Sanders and his Colorado Buffaloes. They had an eventful past few days in the transfer portal, and I think we need to talk about it because, again, I think they land two players, right? One of them is at a position of need. The other was a position of need that I think Deion Sanders is tired of having one of the worst groups in the country at. So let's start with that one, the latter. The Colorado Buffaloes landed offensive line transfer Cooper Lovelace from Northwestern. Now, 7-year guy. I believe he benefited from the Diego Pavia rule or the COVID rule, one of the two. He's a seventh-year senior, like I said. Started his career at Butler Community College, which is one of the powerhouse JUCOs in college football. Spent 3 years there, 2 years at USC, and then this past season at Northwestern. He did take a visit to South Carolina, so he had some pretty big programs coming after him. 6'5", 315 pounds. Could play tackle, could play guard. I think he's more of a swing guy for the Buffs. I don't know if he starts, but I do think he brings experience and more depth, right? According to PFF, he graded out as a 61.4, and he only gave up 1 sack and 566 snaps this past season at Northwestern. Started 9 games, so Big Ten starter, 9 games, played against Michigan. So, again, you're getting a lot of experience here. And if you're Colorado, you're also getting another offensive lineman, which now makes it 9. And I'll run you through sort of the offensive lineman that they're getting, because there's a type here, right? Cooper Lovelace, Northwestern, Big Ten, started 9 games, experienced, can play multiple positions. Walker Anderson is sort of the anomaly of this group. 6'5", 290 from UCLA, still a Big Ten guy, but didn't play, former walk-on. Andre Roy Jr., Maryland, offensive tackle, 6'6", 294, played in a bunch of games for the Terrapins. Larry Johnson III, 6'7", 350 from Tennessee. He played in quite a few games for Tennessee. He was projected. I think he started. I do think that he was going to lose a spot to David Sanders, the 5-star offensive tackle. So he was an experienced guy, right? Xavier Hill, offensive lineman, Memphis, 6'4", 320, All-American Athletic Conference selection multiple years. Mana Taimini, Ole Miss, 6'4", 345. Zylan Chrysler, 6'6", 335. Illinois, ton of experience there. Then they also got Aki OG from Texas A&M, 6'4", 315, some experience there. If you go through the linemen, the offensive linemen that they added, outside of Walker Anderson, who transfers in from UCLA, maybe has a good frame and body to work with for the staff, and Xavier Hill, who may be the best offensive line transfer addition of them all. They're all from SEC or Big Ten programs, and even Walker was, but he was a walk-on, so he didn't get to play. But for the most part, they're all from SEC or Big Ten programs, and they all have starting and or extended playing time experience, right? Colorado has brought in linemen year in and year out and not been able to conjure up a starting line that is good enough to A, protect the quarterback, and B, establish a run game. So they went out and they're getting experienced guys. I've talked about this multiple times. I feel like this group, there's 9 of them now. I feel like 9 players, counting Jordan Seed, counting the other freshmen that they brought in. If you don't have a solution here, I just think you need to focus on or figure out a way to change the strategy of building your offensive line. Now, I think that's easier said than done. I'm not going to pretend like that's just a walk in the park. Otherwise, Deion Sanders would have done that already. So you add an offensive line in Cooper Lovelace, who's experienced, can do a little bit of everything. I even saw a video of him doing the splits. Big-bodied guy. Will probably play some crucial snaps for the Buffs this season. Now, I like the addition. He's not the only transfer portal ad that they made this past week. They also got Sean Myers from North Alabama. He wears FCS program. He's joining as a grad transfer in his career with North Alabama. 105 total tackles, 2 picks, 6 pass breakups. He was only able to play 1 game this past season due to injury. As a sophomore, though, 58 tackles, 4.5 for a loss, and 2 of those interceptions. So he was a junior college All-American at Hawkins College in Ohio. And yeah, I 6'2", 220. And here's some of the offers he had: New Mexico, Kent State, and a handful of other programs of that caliber. Now, am I saying that I don't love this addition? No, I'm not, because the linebacker group for Colorado, to me, is still very weak. I think if there was a position group that stood out like a sore thumb in terms of weakness in recruiting, it would have to be the linebackers, right? I think last year they really were bailed out by Levante Bentley turning into what he turned into. And then Nakai Hill Green was coming off some time at Charlotte, where I don't really know if he was getting the buzz that he needed or was hoping for. but he turned into a star for Colorado, and then they lose him to Bama. So this linebacker group for Colorado is, I think it's weak. I think it's the weakest position group on the team, even including running backs. I would say running backs and linebackers are pretty on par for how weak they are. So they needed these transfers, right? I think for the offense line, even though they're bringing in 9 guys and they already have Jordan Seaton, right? You need 9 of these guys to fill 4 spots, and you need 9 of them. And I also forgot to mention Zarian McGill. He was an all-conference player from Louisiana Tech at center. But you bring in 9 guys. You need 9 guys to fill 4 spots, and you need them to do it well, right? The offense line has been a habitual weakness for Colorado under Deion Sanders. Shedeur Sanders and Travis Hunter, I think, mask those issues a lot more than people realize. And when you don't have a NFL caliber quarterback, because I do think Shedeur is that, and you don't have a two-way star in Travis Hunter who could sort of do a little bit of everything, I think it makes sense to sort of, this doesn't feel like a panic move, but it certainly feels like we have to have a combination of guys who could play in here somewhere. That's what it feels like to me. Linebacker wise, it's like, okay, we got the best available that we could, right? I don't know. I like Martavius French from UTSA. I think Reginald Hughes is going to be decent, but after them, there's little to no depth, right? And they haven't recruited the position well. So it'll be interesting to see how linebacker pans out for this Colorado team. And that being said, maybe they're not done, right? Maybe they're not. There's still guys in the portal. Over 4,000 guys enter their names into the portal. And I think a little over half or around half have found a home. So there's still thousands of guys in the portal that could Colorado could kick the tires on. But they've had a pretty big spring. I think these were additions 14 and 15 for the Buffs. So pretty big deal, right? I like the aggressiveness. I think that they're trying to solve these issues. Whether or not it will come to fruition, we'll just have to wait and see. One of the biggest storylines coming out of the NFL Combine was how poorly Shedeur Sanders did. Now, and I think Colorado fans get a little defensive about this subject matter, and I don't know what to say because I'm not in the room. I can only go off of what I was told, right? I talked to people around the NFL draft, and for the most part, what was being reported was what I was hearing, right? There was multiple people who came forward and said, yeah, Shedeur was not interviewing well. It sounded like, to be frank, he bombed his interview with the Giants by being upset that they called him out for missing. They gave him a look or something. He wasn't able to identify the mistake. And there was also reports that he went into meetings listening to music, and one report out there said that he took a phone call in the meeting. Again, we weren't there. I have multiple stances on this, right? I think it's unfortunate that this is coming up again because Shedeur Sanders is going to be the most critiqued athlete in this class, regardless of like Cam Ward went number 1 overall. We're not going to hear much about Cam Ward, right? Cam Ward could, I don't know. I don't want to put anything on Cam Ward, but I'm just saying you're not going to hear much about Cam Ward. That being said, you go on social media and you'll see the Browns media asking Kenny Pickett if he could feel Shedeur's aura. You'll hear the media asking Joe Flacco if he's mentor Shedeur or how Shedeur is as a teammate, right? You will see the NFL itself posting about Shedeur. He is by far the most famous rookie in this class. That being said, the more this comes up, I think it just, unless someone who could do us the ultimate favor. Let me get to this before I dive into what Coach Prime said. The New York Giants, right? They released their interview with Jackson Dart. They were one of the teams whose interview Shedeur reportedly bombed. And I think the best way to see what's true, what's not, is for them to release a tape. I mean, that's what it comes down to, right? I mean, it basically comes down to he said, she said, right? It's going to be the Sanders camp saying that's not true. And that's going to be reporters such as people from like CBS and ESPN and all these other people saying that's what I was told, right? It's going to be someone who's involved with it and reporters who are reporting the story, and their credibility could be snatched away by it not being true. So, I mean, I don't think the Giants will, but it's like that would solve a lot of these mysteries, and it's going to make someone look really bad. I don't know who, but it makes someone look really bad. That being said, Deion Sanders recently went on a podcast, and I don't think he really helped. Right? He went on this podcast and he basically was just saying how Shador he called the reports foolish. Like this is what he said. Quote, "It did hurt, but the Bible says God used foolish things to confound the wise. There was some foolish stuff that went on, but that gave them something that they needed. Like that edge Tom Brady had, it gave them the edge that you had. It gave them the edge that I have. Folks said we weren't going to be nothing. Now we have to prove that. It gave them the edge that they needed, both of them." And then, I mean, this was one of the reports that came out. Todd McShay from The Ringer. Shore didn't have a great interview with Brian Dable, the New York Giants head coach, in a private visit. An install package came in, preparation wasn't there for it. He got called out, didn't like it, and Brian didn't appreciate him not liking it. And then there was other people who said, I forgot who reported it, so I don't want to put someone's name out there incorrectly, but there was reports that he just didn't seem interested. There was reports that he took a phone call, was listening to music. Either way, Coach Prime comes out and says that, and then Booger McFarland goes on first take and says, "Well, I think it's the correct reaction. I think it's a coach. It's a father defending his son, understanding what he heard, understanding that Sanders' name has been kind of slandered, especially during the pre-draft process. Everybody's trying to figure out post-draft why Shador Sanders slid. Here's what I'll say, though. I think some of this stuff wasn't made up. I heard some of the things that Deion Sanders was talking about. We all have relationships. We all have people who tell us information. They help us prepare to do our job. I heard some of the same things. Some of these things weren't necessarily made up. At least I don't think, from the people that I trust who told me things." And then he says, "So I think two things could be true. I think that the information that was out in Shador came from a lot of people that a lot of people trust, and I think they're credible. I also think that Deion didn't believe it. Just doesn't believe that his son would do some of those things. I don't know. I wasn't in those meetings. I just know covering this draft, trying to figure out why this young man slid from where we all thought he was going to be at worst a late first round pick, maybe a second to fifth round. I think we're all trying to figure out pieces together." And then Jason McIntyre from Fox Sports said, "This is why people didn't want to draft Shador, because Deion Sanders is going to go out there and slander anything negative about him." And I mean, I'll be frank about this. I'll be blunt. It's a lose-lose situation for the Sanders family from now until the end of time, right? People are going to cover them differently. They have more hype. They have more buzz. And they also, they aren't shy about airing out their grievances or airing out their feelings, right? Do you think this was just a coincidence that Coach Prime went out here to say that, like, Shador, this isn't true after the draft, right? You think he was never going to address that? The problem is, and I think most coaches, like, if they went out there and said Quinn Ewers from Texas isn't a astute quarterback who understands concepts well, I think Steve Sarkisian would do his best to go out there and be like, yeah, he does, right? That's what you're supposed to do as a coach, right? And I think it's harder for Shador and Deion, Coach Prime, that is, because it's his father, because Deion Sanders is so, for as likable as he is, I think he's a great thing for the sport, great name for the sport, great person, character for the sport. There's a lot of people out there that don't like him.
Ever check your bank account and wonder, where did all my money go? Between dining out, online shopping, and entertainment, it's easy to lose track. That's where Monarch Money comes in, your personal CFO, giving you full visibility and control over your finances. Monarch Money isn't just a budgeting app. It's a complete financial command center. You can track all your accounts, investments, and spending in one place, so stop just managing your money and start building wealth. Instead of juggling multiple apps, you can use Monarch to check your finances, track spending, and even plan long-term goals. Managing money with your partner is smoother than ever. You can track shared and personal accounts, set goals, and stay on the same page without the stress. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONNFL at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. That's monarchmoney.com, code LOCKEDONNFL for half off your first year.
Arizona basketball gets the recruit that it has been looking for, and we have been hinting at for a long time.
You are Locked On Wildcats, your daily podcast on the Arizona Wildcats. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Let's talk a little bit about Ivan and where everything is with Ivan. Now, listen, for the longest time, we have been telling you that this is going to be the one that is going to be committing to the University of Arizona, and here he is. Listen, you get a lot of people that are like, oh, well, Why is Arizona not going after Tyon Grant Foster or whatever the case may be? Well, you got your reasoning right now because Tommy Lloyd is obviously very comfortable with somebody overseas, and he knew exactly who he wanted to get. Arizona wasn't taken by surprise by Carter Bryant leaving or anything like that. They knew that there was a good chance that he could leave, and they knew exactly who they wanted to get, and this is who they got. And so you look at his skill set, there's a lot to like about him. First and foremost, he's legitimately about 6'6", I'd say. I don't think he's 6'8", and he's very, very strong. He's a guy that, you watch him and you watch everything that he can do, and you're like, man, that's a big boy right there. He is, his skill set is very, very, like I said, he's very strong. You add him, and you see that, that small forward position is going to be a battle. And I think that's the way that Arizona wanted it to be. And I think the thing about him too is that he's not going to be scared by anything. He has got a lot of experience. He has played against very high levels of competition. And watching him too, he's also somebody too that he's a good passer. He's a good defender. He's physical. He's got Big 12 defensive physicality to him as well. And he is somebody that you just kind of look at and you're like, man, that guy's best basketball is in front of him, and I think that's something that's very, very exciting to see. Now, I think the one thing too that's also exciting is to see exactly where he is going to fit in next to Dwayne Aristode. Now, Aristode is, and we're going to get back to Yvonne here in a second, but Dwayne Aristode is a next level, he's a next level type athlete. He is a really, really good dude. He's a player that you kind of watch him and you're like, man, could he be a one and done possibly? He could be a one and done. He's got that kind of potential to him. He's big, he's strong, and keep in mind, this was a guy that was a top 10 player in his class before he had an injury. So again, he is, you watch him and you're kind of like, all right, man, that next step it could be really high, but that's going to be a fun competition, to watch them. We're going to get back to Dwayne here in just a second, but back to Yvonne. He is like I said, he's played in the highest level of competition. He's gone against NBA players, and he's going to fit in very, very well he's going to fit in very, very well in this conference. And I think that's the thing that Tommy Lloyd was looking for. Somebody that is going to fit in, somebody is going to fit in very, very well, and somebody that's going to be ready. And I think the thing about him too, and it says that I think is also very intriguing is, is he a 2-year player? Is he a 1-year player? What is the case? Because he's on NBA radars. I don't want to hear anything about Philly B. I keep getting people saying, oh, well, Philly B. This isn't Philly B. This is somebody that you look at some of the write-ups. This is a guy that's viewed as this is a guy that is viewed as somebody that's going to play in the NBA, and he is going to be somebody that is going to somebody that is, like I said, he's got all the skills to be able to be that next level talent, and I think that's why so many people are so enamored by him, and I think that's why Tommy Lloyd was so enamored by him as well. Watching him, he's a really, like I said, he can just do a lot of different stuff, and that's, I think, what's exciting about him. He also is not going to be intimidated by anything. He's going to be ready to rock and roll, and that's going to be something that's going to be very, very fun to watch with this squad moving forward. But this is a dude, I think, this is who Tommy wanted, and Tommy knew exactly what he was going to get, and Tommy was able to get exactly what he wanted, and I think that's something that's going to be exciting for this Arizona team. Now, watching this, he is also somebody that you say, okay, what should those statistical expectations be? And I'm going to say this. I think between him and Dwayne, I think they're both going to be about 8-point per game guys. And I think you could say the same about ADO. I think they're going to all be kind of in that I think they're going to be about 23 points per game between them, 7 rebounds, 6 assists, etc., etc., etc. So you've got that. Then You watch him too, and he is, like I said, I'm not going to sit here and say that he's LeBron James physically, or that, that he's going to be this next level athlete that everyone's like, oh gosh, what are you possibly going to do with him? There's not going to be any of that. I'm not saying that, but at the same time, he's also somebody that you watch him and he's just he gets it. I mean, he is a big, strong dude. He's got broad shoulders and he can dunk. He's a very, very good defensive player, and I think that's something else that we really need to look at. Where is this team's defense going to be? And I think this guy's defense is going to be built for the Big 12, and I think that's something that Tommy Lloyd was obviously looking for. He clearly wanted somebody that was going to be ready to play. This dude's going to be ready to play. Now again, how good is he going to be? I get it. Those are always fair. Those are always fair questions because nobody really knows. I don't know, and I don't think anybody else knows just how good any of these guys are going to be. But you watch enough of these films, you watch enough of people that are viewed in very, very high circles, and you see somebody that is really somebody who's really kind of somebody that this isn't nearly the chance. This isn't getting the 21-year-old from Europe or, that Illinois got or anything like that. This is a guy that, you watch him, he's going to be good. Same like with the North Carolina kid. I know that the North Carolina kid's got a lot of, can play. He's also 21. I think Arizona was looking ahead a little bit to 2026 because you're going to need a roster that's going to have guys because you're going to lose a lot of guys. You're going to lose a lot of players, and I think you're trying to find some kind of roster stability in there, and that's exactly what Arizona got here with Yvonne. He is, like I said, I would expect him to be a difference maker, and I'd expect him to be a difference maker from day one. So we shall see how it plays out. But good job on Murph and the staff. Yvonne is he's viewed as, like I said, he's viewed as one of the better players in all of. He's viewed as one of the better players in all of Europe in that age bracket, and you can see why. There's a lot of reasons why you can see that this guy is going to be viewed as a difference maker, and I think that's what's kind of exciting about him. Now, the next one too that I think is going to be interesting though is this small forward battle, because this small forward battle is. I think we're kind of at a stage now where you look at it and you would look at it and you're kind of like, all right, what's the next case then? Where are we? The transfer portal though is it's done, it's closed, but Arizona now has a roster that is pretty set,